Hey guys, it's Kim from Honey Trail Farm. I'm coming to you to shoot my annual. I'm naming it my annual. I've only ever done it one other time, but second annual. What tomatoes am I growing? I am Nibby and I love to see what other people are growing, what other people like about certain things, what they don't like, because I like to try new tomatoes every year. And a funny thing was, so I'm starting my market garden really for the first time this year, and so I was trying to be very businessy and be like, I'm only gonna grow this many, like different varieties. And then about February hit when I was really starting to plan everything, and I was like, there's no way that I'm only gonna grow 10 kinds of tomatoes. Like, there's no way. So I did a little seed shopping, and I'm probably this year growing the most varieties that I've ever grown. So I veered far to the other side, and I am gonna tell you about them. So I'm gonna start off this conversation with cherries. So what you're gonna see in this video is like 99.9999999% heirlooms, because I'm an avid seed saver. I'm a collector of seeds. So I like to be able to save the seeds, pass them along, share with friends. I'm gonna start out with I think one of two hybrid varieties I'm trying this year. I'm not trying this one this year. This is the ultimate cherry tomato. If you don't like tomatoes, try Sun Gold tomatoes, because I can almost guarantee you, if you don't like Sun Golds, there's something wrong with you. They're like the sweetest tomato I've ever eaten. Every time my kids go to the garden, this is the one they're grabbing. So I always buy stock in Sun Gold. This year I'm trying what Baker Creek is offering, I think for the first time this year. I hadn't seen them offer this before. Sun Gold Select 2. I don't know if there's a Sun Gold Select 1, but this is supposed to be super close to the hybrid Sun Gold, but you can save the seeds for. So if this works, this is going to change my life, okay? My second favorite cherry tomato is probably Black Cherry. It was one of the first cherry tomatoes that I had ever grown from seed. It's like a medium cherry, so it's not a small one. My favorites are small ones because you can just pop them in your mouth. So it's kind of a bigger cherry tomato, but it's got like that dark tomato flavor, but it is sweet, but it's got that like sultry dark tomato. This is my second favorite. So my thought process on marketing tomatoes is, because most market gardens grow tomatoes. It's a staple crop. It makes a lot of money. But my game plan is to offer the funnest varieties. Okay, so picture like your little berry basket, but it has like every color in there. That's how I'm gonna market mine. I'm just gonna go down. These are in no particular order. I just have like 50 packs in my hand, so I'm gonna go through. Purple Bumblebee. There's nothing super special about the Bumblebee series and flavor to me, but they sell well because they're pretty. Like the Purple Bumblebee is like a dark with like a green stripe, I think. I tried Black Cherry or Black Strawberry last year, and I will not be growing. I need to put this in a different list because it was so bland. I was so disappointed because it's beautiful. The flavor was like meh. Next up, Brad's Atomic Grape. So I grow this every year. First of all, it's beautiful. Second of all, it's delicious. Some people say it tastes funny, but I don't think this tastes funny. It just tastes like a tomato. And it's beautiful. Next up is Indigo Pear Drops. There's no pretty picture on this one, but I can almost guarantee you this was a cross between like a yellow pear, because it's got that shape, but it's got a dark shoulder and it's yellow. It's pretty good. I grow it because it's pretty. It's not like wowing, but it's pretty. So not Brad's Atomic Grape. Brad Gates, I think is his name, from Wild Boar Farms. He is a tomato breeder that if you're a tomato person, you know who Brad Gates is. So he has a line of like blueberries, blue cream berries, and I think there's another one in the lineup. I am not going, as beautiful as it is, and I grow them because they make this, where the stem is at the top, when you take it off, because of the shadow of the stem, the anthocyanins don't show up, which is the purple markers on dark tomatoes. So it makes a cute little star at the top. But I have grown it for 3 years now, and I usually try to give something 3 years before I throw in the towel, because maybe it was the way that I grew it that I didn't like. But the blue cream berries taste weird. Tell me if you think blue cream berries taste weird, but I think it has like a cinnamon taste, and it is just not right. I don't like it. Tastes funny, but I will stick to the blue cream berries because the flavor isn't as strong, and it's still pretty. One that's new to me this year that looks like Brad's Atomic Grape but green is Lucky Tiger. It's probably a play off that tomato if I had to guess, but I want to try it, and it's cute. Okay, so I tried for the first time last year green cherry tomatoes, and I figured out that I just like green tomatoes. I tried Green Doctors last year, which is green, but when it's really ripe, it's got kind of a yellowish shoulder. That's how I knew that it was ripe, and it was really good. It was really sweet, like almost sun gold sweet, and I really enjoyed it. Another one, because it's pretty, that I'm trying this year is Evil Olive. And it says it's insanely productive and one of the longest keepers. So I'm gonna try that. That'll go good in the basket. Okay, one of my other, I know I keep saying favorites, but one of my other favorite cherry tomato is Isis Candy. So I think that it's pretty dang close to Sun Gold as well in terms of sweetness. It's a slightly bigger than the Sun Gold, and it's orange and yellow with a hint of red-ish. It's beautiful, it's sweet, it's delicious. I'm always gonna grow it. And then I've got a couple, actually 3 different varieties of these currant tomatoes. So the really itty-bitty small ones, or spoon tomatoes, or there's probably even more names than that. But the reason I grow these, and I will only grow a couple plants of each one, is because since the fruit is so small on these, they mature so fast. So they're always like my first tomatoes. So in like late June, early July, when I don't have any tomatoes yet, these really scratch the itch of needing a fresh tomato. So I got the red ones and free from Baker Creek this year, which was cool. And then in the past, I've grown the orange ones, and this year I'm trying the white ones. So these are supposed to be super sweet too. I've heard good things about them. And it's also, if your kids need a job, send them to these plants, because there's a million on the plants. You know they're not going to mess anything up, because it's like long gangly plants, so you really need to make sure that you trellis it well, or cage it well, or do whatever you're going to do, because it gets really tall and stringy. But send your toddlers to these plants to pick them, because they'll be busy for a long time. As well as the purple bumblebee, I grow the sunrise bumblebee. Nothing super special about it. It's a good tomato, but I grow it because it's pretty. You gotta grow Berry's Crazy Cherry. It's a really good sweet little tomato, plus the clusters on these things. If you've never grown it before, just the flowers alone is like a mass of yellow. Like, I feel like I could use it in a flower arrangement and it would be pretty. But it makes a ton of little tomatoes. So if you're like short on room or something in a garden, then I would choose that one, because you're bang for buck. It's gonna do it for you. Then the rest I've never grown before, so I'm just gonna tell you what I know about them, and this is my first year, so take it or leave it. This is chocolate pear, which is a play on the original pear tomatoes, but it says huge crops of black pear-shaped fruit over a very long season, very unusual, among our best. All of those adjectives is what I'm looking for in a tomato. I've heard good things about Rosella. I think the Stivers talk about Rosella, if I can remember right. But it says bred for superior flavor by Gourmet Genetics. and these would look pretty in a basket. Napa Chardonnay, oops, is a little pale yellow. It says it's super sweet. It's a mutation from the Napa Rose Blush, which is the one that I think Just from Roots and Refuge grows. So I gotta try that. Tropical Sunset. Not sure why I bought this because it looks just like Sunrise Bumblebee, but here we are. We gonna grow it. Coyote is a cherry that I got from Southern. I like to try different seed companies too, and I really liked Southern Exposure Seed Exchange. They have a lot that grow well in humid environments because they're in the south, and here in Indiana it gets super humid in the summer. There is no description, but if I had to guess, I'm pretty sure this was one that, I mean, all tomatoes came from Mexico originally, right? I think, in my tomato history. And this one is like a wild growing one, or that it was raised off a wild growing. I don't know. Don't quote me. And the final new one that I'm growing this year is kind of fun. It's like orange, but like dark at the same time. It says the name is literally dark orange muscat. Okay, I came up with that description before I read the actual name. But I love the terracotta colors. It says, this orangey terracotta cutie is sweet and bright, packed with punch and juiciness. It's definitely one to try. Well, you had me there. I'll try it. So those are the cherry. No one needs this many different kinds of cherry tomatoes. But if you're a tomato enthusiast, you do need that many kinds. So I thought I was done naming all the cherry tomatoes I was going to grow, but I found some hiding in the box that I'm going to offer the seed starting class. One that I always grow that it doesn't wow me, but once again, I'm a sucker for a promise of an early tomato, because when you don't really eat tomatoes any other time of the year except the ones you canned, I'm dying for a fresh tomato. Another one that I'm trying this year that's red is a sweetie tomato. It's just a classic little red cherry that's supposed to be super sweet. I'm trying to offer my seed class less varieties as to not overwhelm new people because I could sit here and talk about tomato varieties all day, but if you're just starting out, you don't understand. Another one that's new to me this year is Matt's Wild Cherry. Kind of along the lines of those currant tomatoes. It makes like a bunch of miniature tomatoes. One that I'm going to offer that I grew last year and sat on my porch and we snacked on that all summer is a dwarf tomato called the Orange Hat tomato. I actually got these seeds in a seed swap last year, but I purchased them this year because they were good and I forgot to save seeds. But I thought it would be fun for people that don't have a lot of room, because for a tiny tomato, it was only like a foot tall tops, but it had like a bunch of clusters of fruit on there. So bang for your buck. And if you have a small space, I know I keep saying bang for your buck. I don't know. That's my phrase of the day. And then the last one is sugar cherry, because isn't that what we're really all after in a cherry tomato, is a sugary little snack? I am. That's why I eat cherry tomatoes. Okay, now I'm really done with cherries. Next on the chopping block is probably the shortest grouping that I have, because I just really don't care about it, you guys. I'm gonna be honest, it's boring. And that's not why I grow tomatoes. So it's the paste variety. So I always grow some because they are nice to have. They are easy to process. But they're just not, they don't light my fire. So I've got Amish paste. I always grow this every year. It makes like bigger paste tomatoes than like your classic Roma, which I also grow. Which, fun fact, I love tomatoes, but I did not know that Romas were determinate until last year. Luckily I really didn't prune them very heavy to begin with, but then I was like, this plant is so short compared to like what I'm used to. And then I'm like, it's determinate. So if you trellis most of your tomatoes, do not trellis that one. I mean, you can trellis it, but don't prune it because you're pruning your harvest off. Next is one that I keep trying because I hear people love it, but I have never had good luck with this, and it's Opelka. It makes like a bigger paste tomato, like a Amish paste, and I want to love it, and I'm keep trying it. And then, because you gotta have a little variety, it's a striped Roma, and this one says indeterminate, so maybe this one is different from the regular Roma Mama. And that's it, guys. That's boring. So if you're a paste tomato gal or guy, sorry, but I'm not. The next group that I've got is like the fun striped varieties. So these are ones that you gotta have. These aren't your staples. I mean, one of them is the one that I love, but these are just plants you gotta have because they're beautiful. This one I've never grown before is Pink Jazz, but everybody that reviewed it on Baker Creek's website liked it, and look how pretty it is. That is beautiful. The next one I grow that isn't my favorite because it's a weird size. So I don't like saladette tomatoes. I either want to eat it in like 1 or 2 bites like a cherry, or I want it to be massive. I don't like the in-between ones as much, but it is pretty, and it'll add variety. It's chocolate stripes. It's more of like a dark tomato flavor, I would say. One that I tried last year that I really like, it's now added to the must grow list, is Anana's Noir. Let me not turn my thumb like that. Here's Baker Creek's picture. Here's M.I. Gardner's picture. You can see the inside cut. I always love to see what the inside of tomatoes look like. Like if it's a surprise and you think it's one color on the outside and you cut it and it's got a surprise pop of color in the middle, that's my favorite. It's the little things in life, you guys. But these are super prolific and the taste is pretty good, so that's why I grow them. Okay, probably one of my favorite tomatoes of all time, bigger tomatoes, is Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye. I love the whole tie-dye line, but I like this one. She's beautiful, she's flavorful, you've never seen her before. She's got like watermelon colors. Like it's like a red and a dark green stripe, and it's magical. Plus the flavor's super good. And then one that I'm really surprised that I've never grown before, it must be Pink Berkeley Tie-Dye's sister. Her big sister, or her big brother, I would say, is the large barred boar, which which looks a lot like Pink Berkeley tie-dye, but bigger. And so that's fun, because I love a big honkin' tomato. Like the ones that you get off the plant, they're like this big. Next up is the green tomatoes. And you heard me say I love green tomatoes. I love a tart, like a sweet tart. That's also one of my favorite candies. So one that I grow every year is Green Zebra. It's like a sour, medium-sized tomato, and you know I don't like this size, so she has to be good if I grow her every year, and it is good. Aunt Ruby's German Green. It's a classic green tomato, good flavor. One that I grew last year, but I really can't remember what it tastes like, is Green Giant. I'm pretty sure these get like yellowish when they're ripe. And then this is a hard one, you guys. Okay, so I love both of these. These are both one of my favorites. I know I always say that, but it's fine. I love the Green Berkeley tie-dye. I just like that whole line. It's beautiful and it tastes good. And then the Cherokee Green might be my favorite. It's like a dark green with like a gold shoulder, kind of like a dark gold shoulder. I don't know. It's beautiful and it's a really good tomato flavor. And I've got to open this greenhouse before I start sweating. So next is the variety. It's got multiple things in here. Okay, so it's a yellow tomato, orange tomato, or the combination of like a yellow, orange, red stripe. Kind of, I would classify them all in the same. They've got all a similar flavor. One that's new to me this year is Hughes. It is a yellow tomato, but the reason why I got it is it originated, I want to say in the 40s, but I'm not 100% sure, so don't hold me to that. So I'm growing Hughes because it originated in a county, like a couple counties over from me. And so typically when things come from your area, they enjoy growing in a similar climate to yours. So I figured that I better try that because it might do really well here. One that's new to me is, I think she's yellow and red, is Virginia Sweets. She's new to me, so I don't know exactly a lot about her, but I'm excited. A classic that I always grow, and I'm gonna find the actual, because these are home safe seed and I want to show you the picture, is, this is one of my favorite orange tomatoes, is Dad's Sunset. So Dad's Sunset is a nice medium-sized, kind of roundish shaped orange tomato. It's really good. It usually doesn't crack, which in here where I grow tomatoes, that's kind of a problem, because if you're really dry for a while and then you get a lot of rain, like in a rainstorm or something, and that flush of water cracks the tomato skin, and then you got to run outside and pick them all before the bugs get in them. So I like the fact that she doesn't crack. These are all she's, by the way. Dr. Witchy, you got to get that one. Honestly, I started growing this because Just from Roots and Refuge grows it. I don't even know if witchy is how you say it, but that's how she says it, and I listen to her, okay? Classic, and makes big honking tomatoes. That's why I like it. Here comes another one of my favorites that's not the size that is my favorite. So, you know what I say. If she's a weird size and I like her, she's got to be good. Let's see if I got a prettier picture of her. I don't. Wapsipinicon Peach. It's a really fun, it's a smaller tomato. It's like this big, but it's fuzzy. It has like peach fuzz on the outside, but it's super sweet on the inside. I also found last year that it keeps a long time on the counter. That fuzzy skin has got to be protective or something, because she'll sit a week or more room temp on the table and be perfectly fine. Every year I always grow Old German. It's orange, but it has like red stripes, really. Like you can't really see in the picture, but it's kind of striped on the outside. It's a nice big orange tomato, and plus it's got that fun thing that I like in the center. When you cut it open, it's got a pop of red. It's like a surprise. You didn't know what the inside was going to look like. Hillbilly. Honestly, I grow this because the name is really fun and I like to offer it in my seed sales because it's like an older variety that a lot of people know. But the problem with Hillbilly is that sometimes she gets real wonky. She'll grow like a lump over here and a lump over here. It's hard to process these because dirt and crap gets stuck in the cracks, but she's pretty. We like her. Gold Medal is next, and it makes big tomatoes that's got a pop of fun color in the middle. Typically yellow and orange tomatoes are sweeter tomatoes. They have more sugar than acid. So if you have tummy troubles with acidic, maybe try an orange tomato. Apparently I like orange tomatoes because I have quite a lot. One that I grow every year kind of looks like Old German. It's got that like orange with the yellow stripes. Is pineapple, and obviously by the name, it's a sweet tomato. It makes really big, beautiful tomatoes, and plus it's pretty prolific, so I always grow that one. One that I grew last year for the first time is Persimmon, and it's just kind of fun. It's like a dark orange kind of. A good solid yellow tomato is Kellogg's Breakfast, and honestly this is really close to Dr. Witchy, but it was like one of my first heirloom tomatoes that I bought, so I keep growing it because it's got sentimental value. But it's pretty sweet, it makes a lot of tomatoes, and I like it. And then next is probably my all-time favorite orange tomato is Thornburn's Terracotta. I don't know if you can tell in that picture, but she is the most beautiful shade of dark orange. So it's really pretty. It's something that you don't see all the time. When you think of orange tomato, you're thinking bright orange. This is like burnt orange. Remember those cars in like the 2000s? It was a really popular color to have burnt orange. That's what color this tomato is. Plus, it's got really good flavor. It's not super sweet like an orange tomato. If you hear banging, I'm really sorry, but the wind has kicked up and the like flaps over the fan in the back are gonna drive me crazy. But if you grow one orange tomato, pick this one. It's my favorite. Next up is one of my favorite. I said that 600 times, but you guys, I love tomatoes. It's like, did anybody else collect Pokemon cards as a kid? And you're like, there's so many kinds. This is like, I have two things that I love to collect. Three. Tomatoes. Because there's so many kinds. And it's like, once you think you've tried them all, you haven't, because they're coming up with new fun kinds every day. Peppers, but I don't share the same obsession as tomatoes. I just like to have a variety of peppers. And then dahlias. Oh, keep watch for that video, because I have spent a pretty penny on dahlias this year, but it is gonna be magical. Anyway, sidebar. I wish the wind would stop flapping the flaps. If background noise is distracting for you, I'm really sorry, but there's nothing I can do about it. Okay, next up is dark tomatoes. So before I started growing all the fun kinds, I didn't know that these existed, because you don't see these in the grocery store. You might see an orange tomato once in a while at a grocery store, but usually they're all boring red ones. But never did I ever see a dark tomato at a grocery store. So first up, black brandywine. It's a classic. Brandywines get a bad rap because the plants tend to succumb to disease faster, but it doesn't bother me because their fruits are delicious. It says, extra large fruit full of deep, earthy, sweet flavor that make black tomatoes so popular. So there's nothing super special about that one. It's just a good dark tomato. Also a classic that everyone I'm sure has heard of, but I gotta grow it because she's a classic, is Cherokee Purple. I don't know why they named it this, because it's really not purple. It's kind of like a darker red, like a flat maroon with like a dark green shoulder. She's got good flavor. Not like out of this world, but I grow her because she's pretty. One that's new to me this year, and it's kind of that weird size. So you'll find with newer open pollinated varieties that sometimes the size isn't like on like a old heirloom. Probably every fruit on that plant is going to look exactly the same. With newer open pollinated varieties, their genetics aren't super secure yet, and so you'll get like a little one, you'll get a medium one, you'll get a little bit bigger, then you'll get a small one. But I'm fine with that. And this is probably another one of Brad Gates if I had to guess. Yep, Wild Boar Farm. Indigo blue chocolate. And so I thought that was fun. You'll find with the dark tomatoes, a lot of them have a really good shelf life because there's something about the skin is different, and they tend to be thicker, so they last a really long time on the counter. I always grow Black Beauty. That was probably the first tomato that I looked at and I was like, I have to have that. Like, have you ever in your life, I mean, if you grow a lot of tomatoes, you have seen it, but like for the average person, they're like, what is that? I love when the old guys come over that have been gardening forever and they're like, what is that? And I'm like, oh, you don't know her? She's Black Beauty. You should try her sometime. And then they're always like, I only like red ones. Boring. Anyway, but this year I'm adding to it and I'm growing her sister Blue Beauty, because Black Beauty is one that I grow for aesthetics. It's not super, like if I had to eat one for flavor, I'm not picking that one. I'm picking that one because in a basket of colorful tomatoes, a black one looks magical. But someone told me last year that Blue Beauty tastes better. So I'm going to test that theory out. It's not quite as dark as the Black Beauty is. One that I'm not even going to try to say the name of, but you know that she's so pretty, is that one. Read it yourself. It says tropical sweet with high antioxidant content. I'm benefiting my immune system by eating this. Plus, that is just beautiful. One that I grow every year, and honestly, it gets lost in the sea of tomatoes, is black Krim. Because it's really not super dark. It's like a darker red tomato. I wouldn't call it a black tomato. I wouldn't call black Krim black at all. But it's got like a rich, like a umami flavor. One I grow every year, and I don't have a picture of it because I got the original seeds in a seed swap, and I got it in a little clear bag, and then I've just continued to save the seeds in my own little clear bag. It's Lucid Gem. It's kind of a medium-sized tomato. It doesn't make any big ones or anything, but it's beautiful. It's like got a really dark purple shoulder and like a red and yellow striped underneath, and the flavor's pretty good, but she is pretty. One that I haven't grown before is Carbon tomato, and it says it's one of the most prolific tomato varieties in its category. The Carbon tomato has a sweet and smoky taste profile, which just sounds fun, and I need that. A classic dark tomato is Paul Robeson. It's got probably one of the best tomato flavors in a dark tomato. She's a classic. If you've never grown any dark tomatoes, grow that one. You will be impressed. I really liked Black Prince last year. I don't know why this is pixelated, but it is. It's not a super big tomato. It's kind of a medium shaped tomato, but the flavor was really good. One that I grew for the first time last year that I really enjoyed is Black Seaman. Seaman? Doesn't sound right when I say it. But it's a dark tomato, and it says it's got award-winning dark tomato flavor, and it sure does. It's really good. My final category, red. There are a lot of good red tomatoes, but it's just not one that I like dream about because you see it all the time. We are gonna start out with my favorite red tomato that I grew for the first time last year, but I'm super impressed, and I honestly am never gonna not grow her ever again. It's the watermelon beefsteak. So it just looks like a regular old red tomato, but for one, the flavor is really good. Really good red tomato flavor. 2, plants are pretty prolific. 3, the fruit on these things are ginormous. They're like I easily had multiple 2-pound red tomatoes off my plants last year. And so that gains her one of the top spots in the red tomato category. Next up, Bonnie Best. I grow this because it's not a paste tomato, but it has paste tomato qualities. So the fruits are super uniform. Every year I process a lot of tomatoes to make tomato sauce, salsa, diced tomatoes, tomato paste, ketchup, all the things. So you learn to appreciate over time a tomato that doesn't have giant cracks or scars, or because you can just take your little scooper and then it's done. So that's why I grow that. A classic Brandywine Pink. Once again, lots of people love these because they really do have good flavor, but Brandywines typically get sick faster. That doesn't stop me. Last year I bought in my gardener at the end of the season does like a grab bag, so all the seeds are half off, and it's a surprise, which I love a surprise. So this was one that I got last year that I don't think I grew, but it's a determinate tomato. So maybe this could be a late season. One thing that I'm gonna try this year is to grow 2 rounds of tomatoes, because usually in about September, early September, the tomatoes are really petering out. They're like all sickly and ugly looking. So this one, I might do a second round of tomatoes, start them in June, plant them in the July, and then they'll be fruiting at the end of the summer, early fall. And I'll probably do determinate because they usually fruit faster, and flush all at once. Because if I'm growing for a short amount of time, like let's say early fall until frost, I want a lot of fruit set at once. rose tomato I grew for the first time last year, and I was really impressed with that. First of all, it's kind of like, it has like a matte-ish skin. Like, it looks a little bit different on the plant, and it makes pretty good sized tomatoes, but like a rich tomato flavor, like not super acidic like a lot of red ones. Climbing triple crop, I pretty much grow this because Jess from Roots and Refuge tells me to. It makes like a really tall plant that you need to support in some way. Another big red tomato that I grow is the German Johnson. It just makes big old red tomato sandwich tomatoes, and I like it. Another one that I don't have a picture of, I don't think, but one I grow every year because it makes big honkin' beautiful red tomatoes, is Mortgage Lifter. And I know there's two different strains of Mortgage Lifter, and I always have grown the Radiator Charlie. I'm not really sure what the difference is between the two, but I know that there's two different ones. But these produce a lot of big red tomatoes. Okay, I'm gonna tell you a couple that I've grown in the past that I'm not growing. Crimson Cushion beefsteak. I got this like generic from Rural King, I think. Just didn't wow me. I don't love when they have those fluted. Like, I'm also not gonna grow Costaluta Genovese this year, so while it's pretty, it's got a bunch of those, they're called flutes in them, but it's just crevices where crap can get stuck in between, and to process a lot of tomatoes, not my favorite. So that one does not make the cut. Another one that doesn't make the cut, while the foliage is beautiful, Silvery Fir Tree. It's got like wispy, is the only way I can describe it, wispy foliage. But the tomatoes are small, and the plants got sick fast, and just not super impressed. One that I got last year that it was one of the grab bag tomatoes, is Crimson Sprinter. This is another one that says determinate, so I'm going to keep this in mind, and I'm really going to try to remember to plant a second wave of tomatoes for fall. I've got probably all the kinds. Actually, I don't think I have Brandywine Yellow. I was getting ready to say I have all the Brandywines. Brandywine Red. That's just a classic, your classic old beefsteak tomato. Abe Lincoln is one that I like to grow. It makes massive red tomatoes. And plus, it was cultivated in Illinois, which is right across the way from me. So things that are grown in your region typically do better. Trophy tomato, just your classic. This was kind of, I did buy a lot of new red ones. Usually I don't have this many red, but I was trying to go for like kind of like a paste tomato, but not a paste tomato. You know what I mean? And then for the old guys in your neighborhood who only want to eat Better Boy and whatever those old boring ones are, the classic beefsteak. Beefsteak actually started as a variety of tomato, and then they just started calling all the big tomatoes beefsteaks. I don't know why. Good old-fashioned tomato flavor. Very well suited for the Northeast, but a good grower everywhere, so to keep in mind. You gotta grow homestead tomato if you live on a homestead. I'm getting delirious because the temperature keeps rising in here, and I've been talking for an hour. Anyway. This says, high in vitamin C, lycopene, antioxidants, and beneficial micronutrients. Isn't that a fun fact? You know what else is a fun fact? When I first started gardening, and you know how you just have this deep burning obsession with something when you first start it? If you're like me, you do, and you need to know everything about everything. I would sit and memorize and read over and over again the back of these seed packets. Like, I could recite the fun facts about all my tomatoes I was gonna grow by the time that like June came, because I was just in so much anticipation of this thing that I could name everything that the back of the seed packet promised. Anyway, here's another one that's new for me this year. Rose de Bern. Maybe it's related to the rose tomato. I don't know. It says this apple-shaped tomato has a beautiful pink hue. This tomato is the Brandywine version in Europe, so you know it's probably really good. It says it's an early producer and popular for the farmer's market, which is what I need it for. I got this one because it's literally on a tomato sandwich in the picture. It's called bread and salt. I got this from Baker Creek. It says delectable meaty oxheart type is a large round orb with dense meaty flesh. It's good for slicing, sauce making, and everything in between, which is what I use most of my red tomatoes for. We're getting to the bottom, guys. Ooh, this one that's new to me that I've heard other people talk about is the Missouri Pink Love Apple, and who doesn't love that name? Like, that's such a fun name. Who named her? It's also, it says one of our very favorite slicing tomatoes. Juicy and flavorful. I'm almost done. There's 2 left. Granny Cantrell. I'm pretty sure the Stivers grow this one. Granny Cantrell, I think, is how I heard about her. It says the plants produce bountiful harvest of 2-pound tomatoes with award-winning flavor. That's literally everything I love about a red tomato, is the giant honking size and the red tomato flavor. So the last one is kind of what I'm gonna try that's not a hybrid but kind of produces like a hybrid, is Eleni Star. I got it from the Southern Exposure, but it produces like medium-sized tomatoes, so like good for selling, so that you're not selling someone like a 2-pound tomato that they don't know what to do with. But it makes like a heavy yield of medium-sized. Every one of them is supposed to be uniform and good tomato flavor. I have not tallied it up, but I know for sure that's at least double the varieties I've ever grown before, which is really fun. And if you're like me and you're just waiting and waiting and waiting for tomato time, it's coming, y'all. It's coming. But this year, since I'm dipping my toes in so many different things, you know what that's helpful for? Taking your mind off of what you're waiting for. So if you're just so busy doing other things that you don't have time to obsess over how much time is left before tomato time, just try to do 500 things at once. Anyway, so yep, that's all the varieties that I'm growing here on Honey Trail Farm this year. In the comments, you should tell me your favorite tomato and why you love it, because I love to know why other people like things, so that I can try them next year. Because if your description sounds magical, like I wanna grow it. So thank you guys for watching. Until next time.